Council meeting to order March 4th, 2026. If anybody needs hearing devices, please come up and see Ms. Swanson. She can help you out there. To avoid meeting disruptions, please place your cell phones in the silent mode or turn them off during the meeting. All meetings are recorded. When addressing the council, please sign in, state your name, and speak clearly into the microphone. Line item 1, introductory items. 1.1 is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I've asked Councilman Mendoza to lead us in that. All right, thank you. We will now move on to line item 1.2 roll call. Ward 1, Councilman Hannan is present. Ward 2, Councilwoman Zoberski is present. Ward 3, Councilman Lau is present. Ward 4, Councilman Torres is present. And Ward 5, Councilman Mendoza is present. Councilman Lau's last meeting was excused. Seems how he emailed myself and called myself. We'll now move on to item 1.3, public forum. This is a portion of the meeting devoted to the public. The public may comment on any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. Items not included on the agenda cannot be acted upon other than to place them on a future agenda. If you wish to comment, you can do so in person at this meeting or raise your hand, featured Zoom, *9 if you're participating via phone. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please avoid repetition. The mayor may, at his discretion, hold comments until a second public forum at the end of the meeting. Public comments submitted prior to 4 p.m. the day of the meeting will be provided to City Council and added to the record, but will not be read during a live meeting. Any public input received after 4 p.m. the day of the meeting will be included in the record, but may not reach council members before action is taken. Is there any public comment at this time?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and City staff. I have been a resident of Fernley for 41 years. My grandparents moved here in the 60s. They live in a tiny trailer in King's Trailer Court, which is now where Black Bear Diner is. 4 generations of my family have called Fernley home. We are no longer the sleepy little farm town I remember from my childhood. Fernley is now a city of more than 25,000 people, and we are experiencing growing pains. We have graduated from a quiet suburb to a developing community with a variety of industry at our doorstep. Intelligent, controlled growth is imperative to our future. How do we manage growth while keeping the small town feel for our residents? That's a difficult line to walk. It cannot be accomplished without strong leaders. The residents of Fernley have entrusted you to be their leadership. We look to you to be creative, collaborative, authentic, honest, empathetic, fair, and self-aware. We can no longer have a good old boy mentality because we've outgrown that. The taxpayers need services, fiscal responsibility, and guidance from our elected officials. Leadership is not a title, it's an action. Good leaders surround themselves with people who are smarter than them. They recognize their shortcomings and seek to be better. Good leaders want to grow and learn. I'm struggling to see that from some of you tonight. Albert Torres has served this community since 1992. First as a law enforcement officer who protected and served with skill and grace. Even after retirement, he wanted to continue to contribute to Fernley. He was appointed to the City Council in 2019 and then ran for office in 2020 and 24. He has nearly 34 years of public service in this community. He has served with integrity, compassion, loyalty, and drive. He also serves on numerous boards and commissions, including Nevada League of Cities, the NAMI Western Nevada, NNDA, Western Nevada Development District, County Emergency Management Representative, and the Fernley FCTA Authority, also on the water team. In his spare time, which he doesn't have much of, he's a substitute teacher for our schools. However, his greatest accomplishment is that of father, husband, brother, son, and friend. I hit the jackpot when I married you. Mr. Mayor, a few months ago, you told my husband, and I quote, "Nobody wants you here. You need to move back to Dayton." Well, I'm here to tell you, sir, he's not moving. He earned this position. I have known you for 4 decades. You have been a guest in my home. Albert and I have both helped you when you decided to run for mayor because I trusted you. I was repaid by you telling my husband to move out of my hometown. You not only lost my vote, Mr. Mayor, you lost my trust. Mr. Hannan, you will never be successful in life when all you do is cause havoc. Focus on accomplishing something for your constituents rather than wreaking havoc because you have nothing else to hang your hat on. Go to church, find the Lord, ask for forgiveness. Albert, I'll be waiting at home for you.
Thank you.
Tammy Dittman, Fernley resident. Good evening, Mayor and council members.
I wasn't telling you, I was saying it to myself. Not one time. And I'll comment to the fact, Ms. Torres, I have never once said Albert Torres should move back to Dayton. Not one time.
So thank you for interrupting my public comment. That's typical. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm speaking tonight as a business owner, a realtor, and someone who has chosen to invest my life and career here in Fernley. I love this community, most days. I serve families who move here because they believe Fernley is a great place to live, raise kids, and build something meaningful. That's why it's so disappointing to stand here tonight. What I've witnessed from the City Council recently does not reflect the leadership this community deserves. Instead of professionalism and thoughtful debate, we've seen behavior that feels more like toddlers fighting over toys than elected officials entrusted with guiding a growing city. Disagreement is normal, debate is healthy, but pettiness, public squabbling, and personal targeting are not leadership. Right now, whether you realize it or not, Fernley, let's change this, Fernley has become the laughing stock of Fernley and Lyon County. People are watching. Other communities are watching. Potential investors are watching. Families considering moving here are watching. And what they're seeing isn't stability, it's dysfunction. That matters. As someone who works daily with buyers and sellers and lives in this community, I can tell you that perception is powerful. When leadership appears divided, reactive, or focused on personal battles instead of policy, it affects confidence. Confidence affects growth. Growth affects every homeowner and every small business in this city. What concerns me most is the appearance of going after private citizens, whether it's through public criticism, selective enforcement, or simply the tone taken from this dais. It sends a dangerous message. Private citizens should not feel intimidated for speaking up, asking questions, or disagreeing. That's not how strong communities operate. Leadership requires thicker skin than that. You are elected to serve the entire community, not to win arguments, not to settle scores, and certainly not to target individuals. The position demands maturity, restraint, and perspective. Fernley deserves adults in this room. We deserve a council that can disagree respectfully, a council that can focus on infrastructure, economic growth, public safety, and responsible development, a council that remembers that every decision made here impacts real families.
Your time is up, but you know what?
And I'll continue like other people do. I'm asking
gonna
you
say,
tonight to
if you
reset
would,
the
please,
tone
Ms.
by
Dittman.
be leaders, be professionals, be the example you would expect from our children, not the other way around. Fernley is better than that. We've been seeing, and I truly hope you choose to show.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
What I was going to say that I would let you continue, but you were kind of rude about that. So do we have any other public comment at this time?
Sky Long, I am really afraid to approach right now. A couple of things were already said about that Fernley's already in the public eye, and we are being watched for investment and tourism and growth, and we should be leading by example. In my opinion, I feel like the use of competency, character, and or alleged misconduct has been overused in the last year and almost in a retaliatory aspect. I
did a quick little Google search to see if all of these meetings had to be public, and it seems that character, competency, and/or alleged misconduct is the only thing that you could actually have a private meeting over until it needs action, and then you move it to public forum. I don't know why there's not more mediation going on, but I have a hunch that private meetings for this topic were not had. It goes right to public. It is my wish to see more mediation and more alignment in the middle. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further public comment?
Evening, Mayor, City Council. Don McGuinn, Fernley resident for a while. On the lighter side of life, just a couple issues maybe I'm just been thinking about lately. Before I forget, I know I take my grandson out to the parks here in Fernley, and he kind of color codes them. Blue Park is the park behind the CRC Senior Center building. Yellow slide, curly slide is the in-town park. Soccer field is the out-of-town park. And I take him to those various parks on his whim. And I noticed, and again, I'll reiterate this, I brought it up the last meeting, there's no adult swings, baby swings. And adult swings are kind of lacking in the area. There's one near my neighborhood. It's just a swing in a little patch of dirt. There's one over there off the Ponderosa, I think, subdivision. And so I'm just thinking maybe we can bring back the swings that were in the in-town park at some point. I know it fits in a plan that they used to be there. And the other thing is about the CRC Community Response Center there, they got that big open green patch of play area. And about a month ago, I was there with my grandson, and he picked that park to go to, and he likes to run across that field for exercise. He's only 4, but he can run the whole distance and back better than I can. And it elicited a response because there were some children out there from the Truckee Meadows Girls Club there, Boys and Girls Club. And one of the workers there approached me, wondering if I was a member. I said, no. And he said, well, what are you doing here? This is our park. I said, no, it's a public park. And so the next time I've come, it's fenced off, that area. So I don't know if that's for the safety of the kids in that program and shutting off the use of that for my grandson and the others that want to use it. Another person I ran into yesterday commented that he and his daughter like to run in that little green area. So I'm just wondering, because they have temporary fencing there, if that's going to be permanent fencing at some point, or is that park for public use, the entire park, not just for Truckee Meadows Boys Girls Club. So those are just my thoughts about this. But anyway, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sharon Hawley for the record. I'm here on behalf of my good friend, Albert Torres. It was very disheartening when I looked at Facebook and I saw that someone had said that they were going to go after him for incompetence and all that kind of stuff. Mr. Ryan Hannon, I don't understand why you have gone after Mr. Mendoza, Mr. Torres. What are you going to do now? Felicity and Mr. McIntyre? It's really sad to see things like that on Facebook. Why we have to do these mean things to people. Please get along. This is a wonderful city, and we have great people here. So let's try to be a good city council and not be going behind people's back, putting all this stuff in the record when it really does hurt everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
And besides that, Albert makes the best pies. Sweet potato pie is the best.
Secret ingredients. Go ahead, come on up. Go ahead.
For the record, Dolores Oberg, Mr. Mayor and council members. I have lived here since 1978. I have roots here, and I have known Mr. Torres for the plus 20 years that he's been here. I worked by his side while he was a deputy, and I was the clerk at the Justice Court. He, outstanding person for his job and all that. I knew him before that in high school. Not me, I was older, but he went with my son, same age. So I feel that I'm sad because we've lost, everyone says the old timers and old school and all that, but we've lost that meat of our community. Mr. Hannon, I don't know how long he's been here, but he's the go-to on Facebook. When someone has a city question, they don't call the city or their council person. They ask him on Facebook. A couple nights ago, he badmouthed our sheriff. And I didn't like that. I mean, that a council person would publicly badmouth the sheriff because we don't have a police enforcement or whatever you call it here in Fernley. It has nothing to do with the sheriff. And I told him that. I too, like Miss Holly and Julie and everyone said, we're sad to lose our roots, and it is the way we were, but it was humanity. We were kind, we could argue with Albert and still go have lunch with him. But
Your time is up, but go ahead.
okay,
I'll let you
I'll
continue.
finish my sentence, but that's all. I'm sad, really, at the way things are. There's no reason for it. We're all adults, you know, educated, parents, grandparents, we know that stuff. So, I don't know. That's that on that.
Thank you, Mr. Bry. Go ahead.
What's your name?
Yeah.
Can I have my minutes not removed if I write her name down real quick? Dolores Oberg. Some of you guys are fans of the chamber, and some of you are on the fence. I joined the Chamber of Commerce in 2013. I just moved here in 2012, December. So I'm not a lifelong Fernley guy. But I have, if you don't know already, I've fallen in love with this town. This is home to me. And today, Michelle Barney is the president, this year's president of the Chamber of Commerce. And we had the EDON, president of EDON come present to us today. The room was packed at the Boys and Girls Club. This is just a couple hours ago. Taylor, I can't remember his last name. Anybody?
Taylor Adams.
Mitch Brenningham, Deputy Brenningham was there. Just a phenomenal presentation. And we can all fall victim to the Facebook. How many pages do we have? I even have to ask my wife, which chit chat were you looking at? The blue one or the blue one with the river waters? Or rant and rave, or, which one? What a phenomenal presentation. And he wasn't trying to boost himself up, but he was saying that we may be the #1 growth area in the United States of America in the next 5 to 10 years because of data centers and growth and all the things that we have to offer in Northern Nevada. And then I thought about this. And as a business person, it is you guys don't even know how difficult it is to tread the waters of keeping your mouth shut and trying to be friends with everybody so you don't damage yourself. It is so stressful. And if you're retired, God bless you. I want to be there so bad you don't even know. But if you're not retired, you've really got to walk a tightrope. And we are really the city on the hill right now. We really are. The potential, it's not even potential. We're already there. Your fish pond, it is going to happen. I want it to happen. I love your fish pond idea. But I like everybody, and we don't have to agree, but I don't like the infighting. It is really stressful. And we don't need to have 5-0 votes. Everybody loves each other and you just all unanimously vote on the same thing. But the contentiousness is, as a business person, it is really stressful. You guys may not even think about that. Maybe you do. But I don't want to have to pick and choose. I just don't want to have to pick and choose. I want to support all you guys in the city at the same time. So I hope that, and tonight it's going to be contentious for sure. And my hope is after this night is over, I think we all want the same thing. We might be on different political sides of the aisle, but I hope, am I out of time?
You're out of time, but continue.
Is that 3 minutes?
But I'll let you continue. Go ahead.
Tammy was going. And Dolores.
Kelly, go ahead. I'll let you continue.
I'll make it real quick. It is so uncomfortable to not be a little bit more unified. We can't be unified on everything. We need yes votes and no votes, but I just want us to all be going the same direction in some degree. And so I hope after tonight, and tonight's not going to be pretty, I hope after tonight we can agree to disagree, but want the same thing for Fernley. That's all.
Thank you. Any other? There you go.
Hi, Council. Tom Earhart. I've lived here my whole life. I just want to say I'd like to see you guys get your act together. I live here. I watch the meetings. I come to some of the meetings. I watch it online. You guys are really like a bad episode of The View. The in-house fighting, it's ridiculous. A lot of this stuff could probably be handled with you guys behind closed doors. You're airing out all this stuff to the public. You guys make Reno 911 look like a serious show. I mean, it's the tit for tat. It's just ridiculous. You know, I would like to see you guys act professional. You're representing us. I've known most of you. I think Albert and Felicity have done a great job, probably the best council members I've seen in Fernley. Joe's new. I haven't really dealt with Stan or Ryan, but this back and forth stuff, it's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for you guys. I really am.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Mayor, Councilman, Debbie Skinner for the record, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here, and I completely agree with what people have said today, and I was trying to find an article. I'm a business owner, been here all of my life. I've been in business 26 years, and we have guests that come from all over the country. We've had people from New Zealand, from Switzerland, from UK, Australia, California, Nevada, everywhere across. And so the exposure that we present for the community is huge. As city council and as mayor, your pride should be in the city of Fernley, not about who's playing in the playground nice with their friends or who wants to take their marbles home. So I recently have been attending a different outdoor hospitality conferences, and we've been asked a lot, what is the draw that brings people to Fernley? What is there to do in Fernley? I really can't answer that because we've kind of lost the mission of what Fernley's about. And so to have these 241 served on general public like myself, other business owners, now council, is just pettiness. It is way beyond its time. So one of the things that I was asked to do was to be highlighted in spotlight in one of the Travelers magazines for the RV industry. And the magazine is called Woodall's Campground Magazine. And I just want to read a blurb out of it. First and foremost, when we built the park, we didn't build it within the walking distance of downtown Court of Main Street in the city of Fernley. We wanted to build a community that was welcoming to everybody. It just wasn't exclusively one type of people or not. And we built a park up to the standard that we wanted to be better than any RV that was out there, with the amenities, the accommodations, and with our guest and customer service that we provide, which I would hope would be the same mission statement that the city mayor and the council would want to take on. But in the article, it mentioned here, and this is very key because we know that the growth is coming. It was talked about in the mayor's address. We see it every day. We're impacted by it in the afternoons when we go home from work and whatnot. But one of the highlight points is it said, the 115 site park accommodations accommodates the overnight travelers as well as the construction workers, contractors, and consultants working at the neighboring Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, which is 15 minutes away from Fernley. So why are we being petty enough to pick on members of our own that your citizens, would you like me to continue?
You may continue.
Thank you. That your citizens, our citizens of the city of Fernley, have elected you with their vote and their trust to be the proper representation. When we are 15 minutes across and closest to the biggest world-known industrial center, and we have playground children attacking each other in our city, in our house, in our home. My wish to you is to get your act together. Take the balls, put them where they belong, and protect our city and our community. We voted you to do a job to represent us, not your personal interests and not your personal gain. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further public comment? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, go ahead.
Hello, caller. Hello. I don't know.
If you're on Zoom, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry
Please
about
state your name.
Bill Snyder, for the record. First off, I want to apologize. Driving my dad back from the hospital, so this is important enough to zoom in and say what I need to say. I think everybody's kind of taken the wind out of my sails. Up to this point, I agree with everybody. I think the council needs to have a little more leadership, and I think our city attorney and city staff need to not enable some of these complaints and going back and forth, and really refocus the city staff, the council, to look at what are our priorities as a community. It is completely embarrassing. I think I told one of you guys that you guys can't get out of your own way. It's, you know, I sat at the EDON presentation this morning, and you know, this community's fruitful and there's a lot of stuff coming. But we've already outgrown ourselves. And so, and today, the incidents that occurred today, for public safety, I mean, that's a result of our governance not having priority, of taking care of business and making this place business friendly and ensuring our community is, you know, on the right track. So, this is nonsense that we have to keep bringing these things back up, and it seems to be the same individual bringing these things up. And I just ask that you guys play well together in the future. As far as the other individual that was in question with, you know, character, I've known that individual for probably 30 years. And our association, I'm the vice president of the Firefighters Association, for the record. For those that don't know, and we endorsed him because we don't agree all the time. We disagree actually a lot, but there are things we agree, and he's very honest, and he's a very trustworthy man, and we respect him for that. And so I think, you know, his character in question is nonsense, and it's retaliatory, it's childish, and that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else on Zoom? I'll give the audience one more time for public comment. All right, seeing none. We'll now move on to line item 1.4, Councilman Mendoza.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of item 7.2 for this meeting and any and all future meetings.
Second. Second.
We have a motion to approve the agenda, removing line item 7.2. It's now up for council's vote. Councilman Lau?
No.
Oh, you had your light on.
Oh.
Motion carries 3-2.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Hannan.
I have a question for legal. If your competency and character is being removed, are you allowed to vote on that?
Aaron Mortson, city attorney. We could take a quick break and I can give you my recommendation, but I'm not going to put that on the record.
Okay. I'd like that.
We'll take a quick break this time. All right, we'll call this meeting back to order, and Councilman Torres, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. NRS 281A as an Addendum 420 requires me to disclose a conflict of interest. The matter before this body affects my acceptance of a gift or a loan,
For this body affects, personal character and competence.
affects my personal character or competence. Decision to vote. I conclude that the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my situation would not be materially affected by this relationship. And because this is not a clear case of a disqualifying conflict of interest, I am going to be voting in this matter. I already voted and my vote stands.
Councilman Hannan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to go on the record and say that point of order, I believe Councilman Torres needs to refrain from the vote as it pertains directly to his character or competency, and any vote such in favor of removing it completely contradicts state ethics. So I just want to go on the record and say that. I'm also asking the council to reconsider, make a motion of reconsideration and have another vote to abide by state law. Thank you.
And Aaron Morton, City Attorney, just to be clear, in order for a vote for reconsideration, it must be done by an individual who voted yes previously.
And just for the record, that's what I'm asking.
So the
There is no-
reconsideration would have to be done by Councilman Mendoza, Councilman Torres, or Councilwoman Zaberski.
That's correct.
All right, seeing no motion, we will continue with line item 2, consent agenda. Need to put my glasses on. Looking for a motion on the consent agenda. Ooh, Councilman Torres? Councilman Mendoza?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as it shows.
Second that motion. We have a motion by Councilman Mendoza, seconded by Councilman Lau. Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Swanson, would you please read the business licenses?
Yes, sir. Tonight we have Rocket Electric, residential electrical contractor, Ventus Hospice Care, in-home hospice services, Highlands Investments, window sales, Wallace P. Johnson Plumbing and Heating, plumbing contractor, Morgan Construction Nevada, demolition contractor, SB Builders, general commercial contractor, Van de Poel Enterprises, petroleum sales, GCW, professional engineering services, community tech support, computer repair and consulting, T-Lade Industries, alarm system security, Phelps Engineering Services, engineering development, Jaeger Electrical, electrical contractor, and Kemper Sons Masonry, masonry contractor.
Thank you, Ms. Swanson. We will now move on to line item 3, reports. This item is for various public entity represented to provide general information to the council and public. No action will be taken. We'll start with Lyon County Fire, Chief Bunn.
Hit the button. There it is. Brian Bunn, Fire Chief, North Lyon County Fire Protection District. A couple things I want to go through. Mr. Mayor, thank you for the meetings that we've been having. They've been wonderful. I think we're growing some fruit. North Lyon Fire definitely looks forward to finalizing some of the verbal agreements as far as one-time monies and deeding the fire station over to us upon certificate of occupancy. Extremely important. The helipad. As you know, we're in negotiations right now to have a public-private agreement to bring a helicopter into Fernley. Through generous donations, we have secured concrete and labor, so no need for you to chase that. Do appreciate you helping us out. Today was a long day. I feel like a broken record. I talk about our call volume. I've said it many times, it's a fact of time. 2025, we had over 4,000 overlapping calls with no resources. We had it today with the fire. That's a water can. We had one captain available to show up and try to save a life. 1,200 degrees, he got pushed out. And we lost a citizen of this community. We're underfunded, we're understaffed. The community should worry. I'm going to ask you, Mr. Mayor and City Council, to reconsider supporting us with revenues for staffing. It is very much needed. In a report.
Thank you. And nothing from Lyon County Sheriff Department? Okay. I see our commissioner back there. Do we have anything to report from the county, Mr. Jacobson? Thank you. We'll go ahead and start with staff reports now, and I'll go with Ms. Swanson.
I just want to report that candidate filing is in full swing. Open seats are mayor, Ward 1 and Ward 3, and filing ends Friday, March 13th.
Okay, thank you. We'll go now with Acting City Manager Lydia Altick.
Good evening. I just have a few announcements. I just want to remind you again that we're having a code enforcement workshop March 13th, which is a Friday at 6 p.m. And then again, Saturday, the next day, March 14th at 9 a.m. here at City Hall. And this is your chance to share what you think code enforcement should be and what it should not be. So I encourage everybody to attend. The next Fernley 25th Anniversary Advisory Committee meeting will be on March 25th here at City Hall from 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning. Last thing, Business Expo. The City of Fernley is having its second annual Business Expo, and that's going to be on Saturday, April 18th from 1 to 4 outside if the weather's good, inside here if not. And so this event is for local businesses. It offers free marketing exposure, relationship building, and sharing job openings and community engagement. Hope to see you there. Thanks. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So tonight we'll go ahead and start with Ward 1, Councilman Hannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple things I want to put on the record because of some of the comments. It's a tough night, and this is we're all public servants, and we all answer to the public, and so everything that we do up here, including the public comment when we're talked to or talked down to or talked up to, that's part of our job, and I accept that, and I've always accepted that 100%. Some of the comments that were made today, somebody said that I badmouthed the sheriff. The sheriff is, I'm probably his biggest fan. I've never said one single thing about the sheriff. And just to clarify, the comment that I made was in regards to C-Tax. Somebody asked if we're pursuing C-Tax, and I said, I'd love C-Tax, but there was a bigger issue about our previous sheriff, and the new sheriff has done such a great job that it's not even a top of conversation anymore. So I just wanted to clarify that. There was a comment made about Facebook. I have not made a post in regards to any of the topics on the agenda tonight, nor have I discussed any of those things on Facebook. The post that I believe she was referring to was a copy of the 241 notice that was served upon someone up here today. And that person disseminated that information on their own. So I want to be clear about the facts because we are public servants and we are held to a higher standard. I am very disappointed in the conduct. If there's nothing to hide up here, then everything we do should be public. Everything that I do is public. What maybe they didn't tell you was that I was the recipient of 7 complaints and through state ethics. And I just went through that process as well. So it's not one person or 2 people up here. There's 4, well, I think there's 4 people up here that have gone through these. And I'm the recipient as well. However, I cooperated with my investigation, and the findings from the review panel unanimously finds and concludes the facts and evidence do not establish a credible evidence that subject, that's me, failed to comply with the requirements of NRS 281A 421 and do not support the determination that just and sufficient cause exists for this matter to be referred to the commission to render an opinion. This is the second complaint that I've received in my 3 years as a council person. The first complaint was dismissed with prejudice. So it's not as it appears. There's a lot of slinging back and forth, but we have to be held accountable for our actions here and what we do in this building. And by removing items from the agenda and not being transparent by the public, somebody mentioned good old boys. And that's how I feel. I feel that we're hiding something. And the discussions that I've had about these investigations are, this is our only mechanism. I was the only person that attended the legal brief in regards to to this investigation that was removed. Nobody else on the council attended that. I feel bad for our city. I attended the chamber event today, and I'm extremely happy to represent Fernley and where we're going. I'm extremely happy for Mark IV. I'm extremely happy that we work hand in hand with EDON. I'm extremely happy that we have a mayor that that says the city's open for business, and we've done nothing but do good things over the last 3 years, myself and the mayor included, and I want to thank you for that. If we're going to put somebody's competency and character on the record and remove somebody else's, we're not being held accountable. We're not being fair. We're all held to the same standard, and tonight that didn't happen. Tonight, the people that you elected are not representing you, and so thank you.
Councilwoman Zaberski,
I have nothing at this time. Thank you.
Councilman Lau.
Yeah, on a positive note, I would like to congratulate Fernley wrestling team for obtaining a second place in the state tournament 2 weeks ago in Winnemucca, Nevada, which is a great accomplishment, which means possibly next year they'll take first place and beat Lowry.
Thank you. Councilman Torres.
Thank you. I have a couple of things. Fernley Junior High and High School Rodeo is scheduled for March 13th through March 15th. We hope to see you there, support our kids. For more information, you go to Fernley High School Rodeo Club Facebook page or the City of Fernley website news flash. Another FCTA sponsored event, Inferno Music and Fire Festival, is coming to Fernley, Nevada, March 27th through the 29th at Reno Fernley Raceway. This is a 3-day event featuring live music headlined by Drowning Pool, along with a lineup of regional bands, fire art installations, fire dancers, food trucks, street performers, and a rat rod car show. On-site camping and a weekend filled with music, art, and entertainment. For more information, go to the City of Fernley website newsflash or fernleyaces.net. I also attended the symposium today that was put on by Shayla Holmes from Lyon County. It was the Mental Health Symposium held in Dayton. I believe we had probably 50 attendees, including myself and Commissioner Jacobson. It was brought in people from state and local agencies as well as private to get better mental health services in our rurals. As the president of Western Nevada NAMI, which handles the 13 rural counties, I couldn't be happier with the great turnout and the great panels that were there. Mr. Cross was also in attendance. And then my last reporting issue is what the fire chief had said a couple of weeks ago. I got wind that they were trying to get a helicopter company out here. Now I don't know the details of the helicopter company, but I can tell you that they were looking for funding at the fire district to pour 2 40 by 40 by 4-inch thick pads. One behind the station on Main Street, one behind the new station out there at Mark IV. So 2 weeks ago, I made a couple of phone calls, and I was able to get all of the material donated for both of those pads. And our first job site visit will be between now and the end of the month. I made some calls at the end of last week. I contacted a contractor, and all of the labor from that concrete finishing company is coming out and donating all of their time on both of these pads. I'm not sure exactly how much this is, but it is a substantial amount without having any, with the traffic between Fernley and Sparks. We have to find different ways, not only an increase in manpower for the district, but we have to find new avenues and kind of think in a different way. How are we gonna get there between the accidents that happen? Even if we had 20 guys, we still have the accidents. And the expansion that's coming to I-80, which is planned to be at times 1 lane each way. I don't want any of you, I don't want my family to be stuck in that ambulance with these guys trying to do everything they can to save you. The first pad will be poured hopefully by the end of April. The second pad will be poured probably next year or the next 18 months. But all of the materials, time, and labor will be donated at no cost to the fire district or to the city of Fernley taxpayers. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Mendoza.
Thank you, Mayor. This last week, myself and Councilman Torres and a few department heads were able to meet with NV Energy in regards to their future infrastructure plan. I was pleased to learn that while they're looking at furthering their infrastructure, that they're keeping the residents and the end users that are currently here in mind with lower rates and things like that, and making the bigger corporations come in and pay their fair share to put the demand on our grid. So I was very pleased to hear that. There was a lot of clarifying information that they gave us, and that's pretty much all I could say about that, because there's other things that are just confidential. But yeah, I just want to say people need to take public safety seriously here.
All right, thank you, Councilman Mendoza. So first and foremost, I would like to apologize to Albert Torres and Julie. Evidently, Albert says that in the heat of the moment, we were having a discussion, and I did say that. I don't remember saying that, but if I did, I want to apologize to Julie, because like she said, we have been friends for 40-some years. And I would hate to see that friendship go away on something I said in the heat of the moment. I'm man enough to get up and say, if I did say that, I am truly sorry. And I hope you'll accept my apology. You, Julie, and you as well, Albert. Next, I want to talk about the state of the city. I believe the state of the city was a very big success. There was a lot of information put out there. I do know that if you want to watch it, you can go to State of the City, Fernley, Nevada, 2026, and you can watch it for yourself. I think there were like 96 people in attendance, and I think it was a really great turnout. I mentioned in there that we were meeting with the Renown Group, and we did meet with them on Tuesday. And we took them around and showed them a bunch of sites on property that the city of Fernley owns. And they're very excited about getting this project started. They will send us an email stipulating what piece of property that they liked or what they didn't like, and with some other comments on it. So as soon as I receive those, I will make sure that the public knows what is going on with that, because I believe in being real transparent about this. Ever since I became mayor, that's all I've heard is the city of Fernley needs a hospital. So what it's probably going to start out small with the EDU, with transportation there. If somebody is at the EDU getting treatment, that our EMS from the fire department will not have to transfer them to Reno. They will, which will really free up our fire department to fight fires, to where they don't have just one person trying to put out a house fire with a little weed water spray. And so I think that's going to be a really huge asset to the city of Fernley. And that's all I have. All right, let's move on to line 4, proclamations by the mayor. There are none. We will go to line item 5, ordinances. 5.1, possible action in introduction to the first reading of Bill 379 associated with CA 26001, a request from Planning Department to amend the city's land use table, Fernley Municipal Code Title 32, Chapter 6, Section 150, Table 2, to allow multifamily and mixed-use developments by right in commercial zones pursuant to State Assembly Bill 241.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tristan Rodriguez, Senior Planner for the record. This item is the first reading of Bill 379 associated with CA 26001. No action is required at this time. The proposed amendment updates the city's land use table to align with State Assembly Bill 241. AB 241 requires that multifamily and mixed-use developments with a residential component be allowed by right in commercial zoning districts. Fernley's current code requires a conditional use permit for those project types, which is now in conflict with state law. The amendment removes that discrepancy approval requirement to ensure compliance. No changes to district standards, densities, or dimensional regulations are proposed at this time. I will be back at our next council meeting with the presentation, but I am available for any basic questions that this body may have.
All right, thank you. That was the first reading. So now we'll go on to staff reports. Possible action to approve additional funding for Phase 1 parcels 4 and 8 revisionary interest process and the Phase 2 lands conveyance totaling $46,400. Acting City Manager, Ms. Altick will present.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I'm just going to do a brief presentation. This item is to provide additional funding to the Bureau of Land Management in the amount of $46,400 in order to continue with Phase 2 conveyance. And $35,200 of that will be to continue the processing of the conveyance of Phase 2. And the additional $11,200 will be to process the reversionary interest on parcels 4 and 8. So this presentation is just going to kind of give you an update on how much we've spent and a little bit of history of the project. All right. In June 2025, the BLM conveyed 8 parcels to the city of Fernley totaling 2,167 acres, referred to as Phase 1, and that's shown in yellow here on the map. Phase 2 will secure 15 parcels totaling approximately 7,581 acres, and they're located in the north, southwest, and south area plan areas, shown in blue. Okay. The city of Fernley contributed $36,000 to the BLM for Phase 1. Those funds went towards coordination of the environmental analysis, administration, documentation, plat notation, data entry processing, surveys and final survey report, titles and record updates, and patent issuance process. And that process lasted between 2020 and August of 2024. The city of Fernley hired Wood Rogers to complete services for Phase 1 in the amount of $101,827.50. That is what we spent for Phase 1. And that went towards coordinating services with both the Bureau of Reclamation and the BLM, because 6 of the 8 parcels were under BOR's jurisdiction. complete required baseline studies for the National Environmental Policy Act compliance, prepare concept layouts for the 8 parcels of public lands. That's in compliance with the Recreation and Public Purposes Act. And as it says there, that was between 2020 and 2023. Now, phase 2 for the 15 parcels, BLM contributions began in September of 2024 up until now have been $195,100. Of that, 11,200, as you're voting on tonight, will be for the reversionary interest process. So the total that we've spent to date is $365,421.08. That's for phase 2. And I just want to let you know a little bit of what that is for. $97,749 of that went towards cadastral surveys. And that's for lands that would be conveyed that are very irregular in configuration, such as diagonals, and so they're expensive. It went towards NEPA review, non-cadastral surveys, platting, final survey report, patent review, creation of a historic preservation treatment plan, title and records updates, patent issuance process. Also phase 2 is going to include recreation and public purpose, conceptual layouts, and baseline studies. And it's expensive because these baseline studies were very expansive for the phase 2. And it's because all those lands are in the outskirts of town. And so there included a habitat assessment report, which requires field surveys for rare plant species, a fire fuels management assessment, a sagebrush ecosystem technical team consultation to the proximity of sage grouse habitat, cultural field work increased, including a pedestrian survey utilizing 30-meter transects of approximately 2,363 acres. A full Class 3 inventory report was prepared for the area, which includes project descriptions, historic context, and field methods. Also, a National Registry eligibility determination and determination of project effects. Also included are mineral potential reports for each parcel. So what those are is summary of recorded mineral rights, mining claims, leases, general geology, potential for mineral deposits. And the objective for this report is to determine if there are mineral resources within the lands to be conveyed, and if so, what's the fair market value of those. On July 2nd, 2025, the City Council approved a time and materials not to exceed contract with Wood Rogers for an additional $183,458, and that just was for the additional 5 parcels we added to the initial phase 2, which was only 10 parcels. Later, that contract was reduced because it was reduced to the amount of $428,628 because based on the completed studies, the BLM decided to proceed with a categorical exclusion, which eliminated the need to prepare an environmental assessment and reduced the scope of work. So in that cultural resources portion of the contract alone was $172,000. So that gives you a little update on what those costs meant and what they're for. And that's all I have. I'm happy to provide any clarification.
Councilwoman Zaborski.
Do you know the total amount that was set aside for the budget during the budget process for land conveyance? Like what was the total amount of monies that we set aside during the budget for land conveyance?
Which year? Last year?
Yes.
I don't have it off the top of my head. I know that we included, I think this budget has been carried over for 2 years now because of when that first contract for Wood Rogers came in, we just continued it.
Okay.
Mr. Carson, would you happen to have that, ma'am?
But I can certainly get that to you.
Yeah, Robert Carson, City Treasurer for the record. I don't have that off the top of my head either, but I'd be happy to get that for you and get it to you.
Thank you.
Councilman Hannon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we had no further discussion, I'm ready to make a motion. I move to pay the Bureau of Land Management $46,400 for work associated with the Fernley Lands Bill Conveyance Phase 1 and 2.
I second that motion.
We have a motion by Councilman Hannon, seconded by Councilman Lau. Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. We'll now take a 5-minute break. Okay, this council is now back in session. We will move, excuse me, on the line item 7.2 counts, hold on a minute. 7.1, Councilman Torres requests discussion possible action to adopt resolution number 26-004 and discuss the competence, character, and or alleged misconduct, Councilman Lau, including the results of an independent investigation conducted by Sutton Lawn Consulting with possible action, including but not limited to censor, removal from the board or committees, adoptions of resolution, request for resignation, etc. And we have with us our pool pack attorney, Becky Brew.
And Aaron Morrison, City Attorney, can you just confirm that she can speak on Zoom? Becky, can you hear us?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
And Aaron Morrison, City Attorney, this is requested by Councilman Torres, so you want to turn the time over to him.
Okay, Councilman Torres, go ahead.
So the issue at hand is based upon the incidents that happened in April of last year. The complaint was started out as a hostile work environment with the outburst, lack of a better words, the outbursts and interactions by the councilman against Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman Zubrowski, and including when the meeting was tried to be recontrolled by City Attorney Mortensen. And then May 8th of last year, the second incident that was under investigation was I made a suggestion during budget hearings to unfund the city manager's position, to discuss doing that at a future. We didn't have to do a vote. We clarified that with legal. I just asked for it to be conducted. And Councilman Lau became very angry and stood up and threatened to kick my ass outside in the parking lot, which is also a violation of 199-300. So after the investigation, this has come up for what was listed as possibilities, including grounds for permanent expulsion. And by the way, those are also, both of those incidents were on audio and video recording as they were done during a regular city council meeting.
And Aaron Morrison, City Attorney, at this time, I think it's the opportunity to give Councilman Lau an opportunity to respond, and also if he has any legal counsel, to give them the opportunity to respond and provide any evidence as well.
Councilman Lau.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Again, I would like to apologize for my outburst on April 3rd and May 8th. My passion got away with me speaking about engineering needs and our former city manager, issues that I disagreed with. I apologized on May 28th to Councilman Torres. I shook Councilman Torres' hand, apologizing, taking full responsibility for my actions. Since then, I have not had any outbursts. And on May 9th, I had given, I believe it was May 9th or 10th, I had given Councilman Torres a call and told him that I had done some research on what his issue was with the former city manager. I talked to several staff and concluded what the issue was. And the issue was that 3 council people didn't like him. There wasn't anything else, but if 3 people didn't like him, then he needs to go. And I called and talked to Councilman Torres. I left a message, and then Councilman Torres called me back. We both talked. We were very cordial. We apologized. I apologized. I took full responsibility, told him I was just upset and angry and just didn't understand why they couldn't get along with the guy. But the point was 3 people up here, 3 council did not like him. So I agreed with him that, yeah, he had to go. And even that week before the May 28th, I gave the mayor a call along with Ben Marchant, and I had a chat with them, and I explained to Ben Marchant about 3 council people don't like you, Ben. They don't want you here. It's
Point of
really
order,
tough.
with the agreements that we do have with Ben Marchant, should we be mentioning his name in this meeting?
As long as we don't get into those items and just steer clear of those items.
Copy, thank you.
And again, it was just, this was a one-time thing, happened in budget. The May 3rd, trying to explain to Felicity, and I got a little overwhelmed and passionate. And again, like I said, Councilman Torres and I talked on the phone and apologized. And like I said, I take full responsibility. And on that May 28th meeting, for those that were here, Councilman Torres and I got up and I took full responsibility and apologized and shook his hand in front of everybody up here. And we both agreed to bury the hatchet and get along and move on with city business. I have been serving on the city council for close to 12 years. I was on the Nevada Commission of Aging as a commissioner. I put my heart and soul in the city of Fernley. I have only 8 months left in my last term. I've had many accomplishments for Ward 3. Hardy Lane's been paved, rebuilt, city streets rebuilt, along with quite a few. Shadow Lane, Cedar Street's going to be getting going, and Miller Lane. In closing, my attorney would like to make a few legal points. We don't believe we were noticed properly for this hearing. I received no certified letter. We also don't believe that this item was agendized properly. Doesn't say anything about being removed permanently. We also don't believe, and finally, a hearing was already held on September 17th, 2025, where I was sanctioned and reprimanded for the same issues, the May 3rd and the May 8th. And my attorney believes that this is double jeopardy. Lastly, and again, I would like to apologize again and again about my outburst May 3rd and May 8th. And I want to apologize, especially to you again, Albert, for these outbursts. I thought we got along and we had buried it. A long time ago, I made the motion to appoint you, Albert, as a city councilman. I had a lot of feedback, a lot of negative feedback on that. And you remember that. And I pretty much held through it. I'm not as calm as you. I haven't been trained as much as you. But I'm hoping that the city of Fernley, we can move past this and we can move forward and move Fernley in a good direction and quit this infighting. And again, I would like to apologize for the April 3rd and May 8th meetings where I had the outbursts. I was very unprofessional, and I really happened to have liked our city manager at the time. But then after my research, I realized and got on with the other 3. Anyway, I want to apologize again. Thank you.
Aaron Mortson, City Attorney. Councilman Lau, do you have any additional witnesses or evidence that you wish to present at this time?
Well, the only thing I have is I'd like to object to what Councilman Torres said when I got up and said that I was going to kick him. I didn't say that. And we all have that in the report, that all I said was, let's go outside. And all I meant was to go out and talk. We hadn't talked in a long time. We don't talk. None of us up here communicate like we used to. And I think that's an issue. And when I gave Albert a call after I did the research, he called me back and we seemed to have gotten in touch and got along. And I had told him a few things about the city council, that we got to quit this us against them. And what's amazing is we vote 5-0 on everything up here. We only disagree on a few issues. And that was, one of them was the Zoom meetings. But I do have, in my vehicle, I have my phone where I have the meetings. And I have the meeting with Albert Torres, unless Kim Swanson can bring up the meeting to verify that I did not say what Albert said I was going to do to him, because I wouldn't say that to Albert, because I'm an old man. I'm going to be 65 and I have a lot of health issues and I'm not trained like Albert. And I want to apologize again, Albert, and to this city and the city council for my outbursts on May 3rd, excuse me, April 3rd and May 8th. And if you would like, I could go get my phone that has those recordings. If you would like, can I get them? It'll only take 30 seconds, 40.
Aaron Morrison, City Attorney, I'll defer that, Mr. Mayor, if you wish to take a recess to allow him to collect that evidence. I don't
Mr.
think that'd be
Mayor?
inappropriate.
Yes, Councilman Torres.
If I may, can we take a 10-minute recess, please?
We'll take a 10-minute recess.
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So I'm at the airport. I've been sitting here Zooming with you all. And since the beginning of the meeting, I am at 6:45, I have to head for my gate. So Aaron, I assume you'll be fine. And if you need anything from me, you can text me. But I have to get off. I have to jump off the Zoom now.
Thanks, Becky. I'll take it from here.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Bye.
We'll continue this meeting.
You couldn't be bothered to stay on the phone? There's better things to do.
She's on the airplane, I guess. I know.
Aaron Mortson, City Attorney, if you want to turn the time back over to Councilman Lau.
All right, Councilman Lau.
I was going to play the video.
Also understand about contract work, having to wait. It's just like us trying to take our vac truck out to get serviced in Sacramento or whatever. It takes so much longer. It costs more, but I'm having a
Nobody's discussed this with me. I'm sort of caught off guard too. I don't understand what's going on. I'm a little mad right now. I'm a little shocked. Yeah. So that's my request. If we're going to eliminate a position rather than, I think we owe it to our employees to give everyone the same opportunity to have evidence presented against them and for them to respond back with evidence to the contrary if they so believe. I am not on board with this in this capacity. If you would like to create or make at the end of this, ask for a future agenda item for a hearing, I'm okay with that. I would love to hear the reason.
Next, Albert. I'm next, Albert.
I didn't say anything,
Shut up,
Stan.
Albert. Shut up.
Hey, don't talk to me like that.
Mr. Mayor, can we take a break? Really? Mr. Mayor, can we take a recess?
You're a child.
Mr. Mayor, can
You're a
we take a
child.
recess?
I had the floor
Hey,
next.
guys, stop.
You need to shut up, Albert.
Hey, you did that
Okay, and that's the end of the video.
in the budget without any explanation.
It was cut off.
Councilman Torres.
I just want to make a point in order. Mr. Lau didn't cut off his recording. It was cut off by the clerk, which was only to prohibit. She didn't want to have basically two councilmen up here in a fist fight and embarrass the city, more than we needed to. So Mr. Lau did not cut off the recording to keep out what happened the rest of it. And it was just Ms. Swanson was doing what she thought was best. So there wasn't an error or an omission on that at all.
And Aaron Mortson, City Attorney, Councilman Lau, do you have any other witnesses?
Yeah, he does. His light's on.
Well, I don't have any witnesses. My attorney's on Zoom listening to this but yeah, I don't have any other witnesses. I have Ryan Hannon. No. He's listening. But again, I would like to apologize to the city staff, the city council, and especially Albert Torres for my outbursts. I was very unprofessional and I take complete full responsibility for my action. And I apologize for that.
Councilman Hannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not here to make excuses for anybody's conduct. I sit up here on the mountain of my conduct, and I think I've been very professional. I would like to just say that the recording that Councilman Lau just played illustrates, and I brought this up on September 17th during the original competency hearing, that there are rules of decorum, and we're each allowed to speak one at a time. And what you heard was one person who had the floor, and then my understanding, and I was hearing what I saw, what I believe to be two other people who turned on their mics and continually interrupted. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but what I'm saying is everyone violated the rules of decorum. When I turn my light on, I wait. When the mayor calls upon me, I say, "Thank you, Mr. Mayor," and then I speak. I haven't ever interrupted anybody. I've made sure to hold myself to that high standard, that standard that we're all held to. And what you witnessed just now was two people who broke rules of decorum. Councilman Lau had the floor, and there was an arguing match that just kept going. He said, "Be quiet." They kept talking. Then somebody said, "Don't talk to me that way." Then someone said, "Shut up." Then someone else said, "Shut up." It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing, and all three should be embarrassed for that behavior. I would just like to say a few things, and I have a recording that I would like to play. I'd like to play a recording from the very beginning of the September 17th, 2025 meeting, and I have a copy on my phone. And if Mr. Mayor would allow, I'll play it over the speaker system.
Aaron Morrison, City Attorney, if he wishes to present evidence that way, he's permitted to do so.
Is this in regards to line item 7.1?
It must be germane. It must be germane to 7.1 as long as
It's absolutely. So this is September 17th, 2025. And just to clarify, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you, is the censure hearing, the first censure hearing for Councilman Lau. And so this is the second censure hearing for Councilman Lau. And so I'd like to draw some parallels between the two. And I'd like to make some commentary about what I've seen. Can I proceed?
Mr. Mayor, Aaron Morrison, City Attorney, Mr. Mayor, ultimately it's up to you to determine what is and is not relevant to the topic at hand. And so those are the determination that you will need to make as you hear the evidence.
Oh, okay. So we know that Councilman Lau was censored. So does this pertain to anything different than him being censored?
Absolutely. I want to show a statement that was made and in regards to Councilman Lau and ethics and the standard and the bar by which we are all held by a councilman in a public meeting. And then I want to try to draw a parallel between what we're doing today and what that comment was. What I'm saying is when I'm up here talking right now, I'm on the record. Everything I say is on the official record. I want to use an official record from the first censure hearing to draw some parallels and show what I believe is a double standard. And I think that I have the right to present evidence in this case. I'd like to do that. I can ask the clerk to pull up that record if she'd like, or I have a copy of it and it's about 3 minutes. It's about 2.5 minutes. And then I'll ask some questions after that.
Okay.
Is that fine?
Ultimately, it's a decision, Aaron Morrison, City Attorney, it's a decision of the mayor to determine what is and is not relevant on the topic at hand. So, Mr. Mayor, I'll defer to you to make that determination.
Like I say, we know that Councilman Lau has been censored.
I'm fully aware of that, sir. I want
So I'm not sure where the relevance lies within playing the video that you have talking about him being censored.
Thank you, sir. So the video that I'm going to play, the audio I'm going to play, is a comment made by a council person in regards to the level and the standard that we are held to. And I would like to draw a parallel between what's happened tonight and what was said in that meeting in the 17th, because I think that there is a huge difference between what somebody in this room said on the 17th and what they're saying tonight. And I plan to show that this is relative to the conversation. If you entice me for about 3 minutes here.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Yes.
I believe 7.2 was removed. So if this has anything to do with me, it needs to be readdressed in a different venue or at a different time and agendized. This is strictly supposed to be discussing the actions of Councilman Lau.
And that's exactly what my comment was. If this pertains to 7.1,
it does not.
Concerning only Councilman Lau, you're talking about having a double standard. So now you're bringing in another council person that doesn't pertain, as far as I'm concerned, to 7.1.
Okay, well, I transcribed it, so I'll just speak from my transcription here. Councilman Mendoza on September 17, 2025 said, "I'd like to begin by apologizing."
Point of order, Mr. Mortensen. This is the same thing as if you played the recording.
That's correct. And Mr. Mayor, I'll defer to you as to whether you think it's relevant. It is ultimately the decision of you running this meeting to decide what is and is not relevant to the meeting. If you determine that it is relevant, you can allow it to be spoken or played. If you do not believe that it is relevant, then you can exclude it and cut off that line of inquiry.
Okay, so at this point, I really don't believe that it's relevant, Councilman Hannon, for the simple fact is that it involves other council members and not just Councilman Lau.
Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, I'm trying to show a parallel between what somebody says in here with one person and then what they say with somebody else. And we're all held to the same standard, are we not? I'm trying to show that that what was said in that meeting is completely different than what we're doing tonight. And there's an attempt to shut down any conversation about parallels or keeping us all to the same standard. We're holding someone to a standard that we're not holding the other folks to. And I can absolutely use that in my rebuttal testimony against the censure hearing of Councilman Lau. And that's what I intend to provide tonight and show. If you'll just entertain me for a few minutes, this is not a retaliatory against one person. It's what that person said about this process and the standard that we need to hold ourselves to. If you want to take a recess, I can play it for you, or I can show you a copy of it.
At this point, I believe we know Councilman Lau has been censored. I know everybody is full aware of that. If anybody wants to see it, they can go back to the meeting you're referring to. Or if there's a motion made, at that time, we can have discussion on that. But as far as right now, I'm going to deny.
Can I continue then on what else I have to say?
Councilwoman Zaberski?
Did you want to finish?
I wasn't done. Yeah, I can't talk about this, but I can finish the rest of what I want to say.
Okay.
Unless I don't have the floor anymore.
I can go. The investigation that Pool Pack did into Mr. Lau was substantiated, correct?
Aaron Morton, City Attorney, that is correct.
Are you allowed to just do a quick summary?
Aaron Morton, City Attorney, a quick summary is done during a legal brief and discussed in a legal brief. That's not something, if members of council wish to discuss what they heard and discuss in that legal brief, that's their prerogative. But I'm not going to disclose what occurred in that legal brief or any of the documents related to the investigation.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Hannon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to draw a couple more parallels here before we wrap this up. And then I have some documents that I'd like to enter into the record. When we did this on the 17th, I made a point of saying that let me back up. When the investigation began, we were all told that we were not to speak of the investigation or take any action until the investigation was completed. This investigation has been going on for 9-10 months, something like that. It's been quite a while. And I myself have followed that rule. Some other folks decided to put it on the agenda prematurely, in my opinion, and I made that argument at that time on the 17th. I said at that hearing that if the report came back and it verified that Councilman Lau had violated any rules of decorum or city policies, that I would vote in alignment with the rest of the panel, the rest of the council, in censuring him. In that meeting, I voted no because the investigation wasn't completed. Since then, I've reviewed the information, and I agree that a censure allowed by law would be sufficient in this case. We've had quite the conversation about what the duties and powers of the council are, and I have to be careful how I say this. I think the legal advice that we've been given and NRS statute says that an elected official can remove by a consensus of the majority another elected official for a term of one meeting. There has never once in the state of Nevada history been a body that's removed anyone permanently that I'm aware of. And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. We had a councilman here a few years ago that moved out of his ward, and he was asked to resign, and he refused. And the body at the time, this body, was unable to remove him. They had to go through the court to have him removed. There are some parallels between other cases in Reno and Sparks and Carson City by which the council took appropriate measure to remove somebody through court action. My understanding of Nevada state law is that We are duly elected by the representatives in our ward, and those people and only those people can put us here and remove us. There are some exceptions for appointments when there's vacancies, but there is no vacancy at this time. I would urge the council to follow the law. This has never been done. No panel has ever removed somebody, and this would be set a precedent in the state of Nevada. This would be the first time that a council or a commission removes somebody for this reason. So Councilman Lau can easily go tomorrow, if he's removed tonight, and file a lawsuit against the city, and a court will likely, in my opinion, put him back on this body until such time as they're able to decide if this is even legal. I've been told, don't do this. We removed him from the committees he was on. And like I said, I didn't vote at the time, but I would have voted tonight to remove him from the committees because what he's done is an embarrassment to the city and he's taken responsibility for that. The removal of another agenda item tonight, I think, creates suspicion that we're not all held to the same standard. I had intended to point that out, but I'm not being allowed to. So with that being said, in the interest of transparency, I am entering into the record the investigation into Councilman Torres as my rebuttal testimony tonight. And I would like to read some things from that investigation to show parallels.
Aaron Morrison, City Attorney. Again, Mr. Mayor, of course, a council member is permitted procedurally to place any document in the record that they feel is appropriate. However, in terms of what is discussed in this, it is again up to you to determine what is and is not relevant to item 7.1. If you determine that it is relevant, you can permit him to speak to that. If you do not believe it is relevant, then you can exclude that, and you have the authority to do so.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor, I also have not been served notice that he was going to speak about me, and 7.2 was pulled from the agenda. So I'm not giving him permission to speak publicly. I have no problem with him making the report part of the record because I was going to do the same thing. I have nothing to hide.
So if you're going to do that, Mr. Mayor.
Hold on. So you're okay with him entering that into the record? Is that what you said or no?
So
I'm not quite sure what you're asking, Councilman Torres.
Here's my suggestion. If it's going to be placed into the record, I believe that I should be allowed to do that. However, I believe that there's going to be future litigation based upon how the investigation was handled. So I would strongly suggest not doing that. More for the city than the individual sitting up here.
Mr. Mayor?
Does Councilman Hannon not have the right to enter it into the record?
Aaron Morrison, City Attorney. The rules of procedure allow any documents to be introduced by council and placed into the record. And so in regards to placing things on the record, that is procedurally permitted. In regards to him discussing those matters today, he needs to determine, you as the mayor needs to determine whether or not those issues are relevant to item 7.1. If they are relevant, you may permit them to be discussed. If they are not relevant, you may exclude them. That is ultimately your decision to make. But as to placing the item on the record, that is procedurally permitted.
So I allowed him to place him on the record because he can, and I did not allow him to discuss it at this meeting. Councilman Hannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for the record, if Councilman Torres wants to submit it, I'll remove the item and he can submit it if he has a copy and he wants to do that right now. Otherwise, I have a copy to give to the clerk. And I just want to make some comments. And this is going to become a public document now and everyone can look at it. And so I think the public can draw their own conclusions and I won't sit here and bark back and forth about who did something worse than the other person. I'll let the folks make up their own mind. And I think that what's happened tonight is a travesty. This is not in the best interest of the public. What we have done is textbook good old boys. This is absolutely absurd. When the folks read this report, they will understand how serious it is and draw the parallel between holding one person to a completely different standard than we're holding the rest of the panel. As I said earlier, when we were briefed on this document, this exhibit, which is the workplace investigation report of Fernley City Councilman Albert Torres.
So right now I will say this again, we are on line item 7.1. What you're talking about is on 7.2, which was pulled from the agenda.
Sir, I'm talking about 7.1. I'm drawing a parallel between the two. I'm saying that this investigation that I've entered in the record contradicts what we're doing here today. We're holding one person to a standard and not the other person. And I'm showing that should not even be happening.
Mr.
And
Mayor, may I?
I'm not talking about, I haven't said anything about his investigation. I just said that I have a copy of it. I said what it says and I'm entering into the record. I haven't discussed, I'm allowed to. In our break.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
I have no question about that. Aaron Mortensen, city attorney, said you're allowed to do that. So thank you.
And I haven't said anything on the record in regards to the item that was pulled. This is simply in rebuttal to the way that Councilman Lau is being treated. I don't agree with his conduct. I think what he did is inexcusable. He apologized. We have a policy, the law says we can censure him. We have already done this. This is double jeopardy, what we're doing today. We're calling him back after the investigation is done, and we're doing the same thing we already did to him, at the same time suppressing another investigation. So I'll just leave it on the merits of this. I'm tired of talking about this. The public can have it now. It's a public record, and they can make their own decisions on it.
All
Thank
right,
you, sir.
thank you. Councilman Mendoza and then Councilman Torres. I think that's what the order of the lights came on.
Yeah, I just want to kind of make a point here. Just so the public, obviously, we want to, I'm allowed to talk about it. It's my report. So when you read the report, and please
Mr. Mayor,
feel
point
free.
of order. Are we talking about 7.1 or 7.2? We were just told we couldn't talk about the item in regards to Councilman Torres. Are we now open to talk about this?
And Aaron Mortson, city attorney, same advice I gave before. It's, Mr. Mayor, it's up to you to determine what is germane and relevant and to exclude evidence that is not relevant.
Mr. Mayor, I will talk about only 7.1, not a problem.
Okay, only 7.1, which is the line item that we are on currently.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The difference between 7.1 and my investigation is my investigation was a HR issue, not a crime. 7.1 is addressing 199-300, intimidating a public officer, public employee, juror, referee, arbitrator, appraiser, assessor, or similar person. A person shall not directly or indirectly address any threat or intimidation to a public officer, public employee, juror, referee, arbitrator, appraiser, assessor, or any person authorized by law to hear or determine any controversy or matter with the intent to induce such a person contrary to his or her duty.
Mr. Mayor, point of order. I don't think that Mr. Lau has been noticed that we're going to talk about a criminal conviction or a criminal charge. Tonight, we're talking about HR policy, and this is wildly inappropriate. The presumption that now he's being charged with a crime or he may be charged with a crime was not on his 241 notice. And this is an open meeting.
Councilman Hannon. Councilman Torres has the floor.
The accusation was one was an HR issue. The other one by statute is a felony. Nobody's saying that he has been charged with anything. They are night and day. That is the difference. We're talking about rules of decorum. It has nothing to do with rules of decorum. It was a threat to my physical well-being after I made a suggestion to agendize something of the city manager.
Okay. Hold on, Councilman Torres. I'm going to stop this right now. We're not going to continue going back and forth with each other, who said what and what said who. We've discussed this. If there's action to be taken, then so be it. But I'm not going to continue allowing this back and forth. I don't think this is the proper place to do it. And we just need to get on with line item 7.1, if you would, please. Councilman Mendoza.
I don't have nothing. My light was off.
Okay. Councilman Torres.
Was there anything else to present, Mr. Mortensen?
Aaron Mortson, city attorney, I did just want to address a couple of issues that were presented. Number one, there was a question in regards to service, just for the edification of the council. Under NRS 241.033(2)(a)(2), you can send notice in a 241 by certified mail to the last known address of a person at least 14 calendar days before the meeting. The city did send on February 5th, 2026, by certified mail a notice of that 241 notice to Stan Lau at his last known address. As to whether it was received, that's not a requirement, it just requires that it be sent by certified mail. So that requirement is met. Additionally, there were some questions in regards to what actions can be taken today in regards to open meeting law. In regards to open meeting law, there's a requirement that all items on the agenda explain clearly and concisely what the agenda item is. In this case, the agenda item is clear and concise. Additionally, the 241 notice includes on page 2 possible actions related to expulsion, if that is what the council determines to do. Additionally, this was continued from February 4th, and at that time, expulsion was also on the agenda. Finally, on tonight's agenda, there is a resolution for permanent expulsion. If that's adopted, it does say in the language that a resolution may be adopted, and that resolution is attached. So that's all for council's edification. I'll leave it to council to determine whether or not it's relevant.
Councilman Mendoza.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the apology, Stan. And I just want to ask and extend the opportunity for you to resign from your position for the duration of your term, considering accountability is not just apologizing, but doing what's right. And so I want to offer that before we move any further and ask if you'd be willing to resign from your position and step down for the duration of your term.
Councilman Lau.
For the record, I object to this action. As an elected council member, exclusion from council meetings infringes upon the rights of my constituents and raises serious due process and open meeting concerns. I request that my objection be entered into the minutes, and no, I will not resign. Also, most councils cannot permanently exclude an elected council member from future meetings without violating open meeting laws or constitutional due process rights. What is usually permissible is unsure, removal from specific meetings, or temporary exclusion for disruption, conduct, often requiring clear findings and procedural safeguards. A council cannot simply expel or permanently expel an elected council member for meeting. In almost all jurisdictions, including Nevada, that would violate open meetings law, violate voters' rights, trigger due process, First Amendment issues, expose the city to serious litigation risk. And most councils can usually temporarily remove a member from a single meeting for disruptive conduct, issue censure, impose procedural limits. Permanent exclusion equals extremely likely unlawful unless done by recall, a court, a statutory removal process, or authorized by law. One blunt truth. A resolution claiming permanent expulsion of an elected official is often politically motivated, drafted without serious legal vetting, designed to intimidate. Notwithstanding scrutiny, courts tend to look unfavorably on councils that try to vote away a colleague's seat. And at last, I want to say, again, I'm very sorry for my outburst, April 3rd and May 8th. Yeah, I was very professional. It was at a special budget meeting where we usually have hard discussions on everything. And that's all I'd like to say is.
Thank you, Councilman Lau. Is there any other, Councilman Hannon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to warn the council or advise them of my thought that if we do this, we're going to encounter litigation that's going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money. We've been told that this has never been done. And Mr. Lau, Councilman Lau, has already been censured according to the allowable law. I say it again for like the 10th time. His conduct is not permissible. and he's been censured according to what we're allowed to do. If we censure him and remove him permanently, this will activate a lawsuit, and we will, and Councilman Lau will file an injunction, and it's likely that a court will put him back on until the case is heard. Councilman Lau has 7 or 8 months left of his term, and doing this will cause serious financial harm to the city of Fernley in the way of a lawsuit and in defending this action, and it's likely that the case would go on for at least 1.5 years to 2 years, by which his term would already be over. This is reckless on behalf of the council. It's not advisable. We've been warned about this, and this to me looks personal. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Hannon. Any other further discussion or a motion? So it appears that, no, Councilman Lau?
Yeah, again, I want to apologize for my behavior. And I want to apologize to Felicity too. We've been together up here for quite a while, and she knows that I get a little excited, and I get a little excited, especially over engineering. And sometimes I have a tough time articulating myself when I speak. And I want to apologize especially to you on what I've done. And again, to Albert Torres and the city and the city council.
Councilwoman Zoberski,
Um,
and then Councilman Mendoza.
I appreciate the policy, the apology. I was also here, for both of those meetings, so, and also I know that you said you were the only one that attended the briefings, but I was also briefed via telephone from Aaron and Becky on all of the investigations. So I just want to put that in the record. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Mendoza.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion if there's no other discussion.
It
Oh.
appears there's no other discussion.
So I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution number 26-002 as presented, and to highlight section 2, permitted expulsion pursuant to NRS 266.240. That council member Lau is hereby permanently expelled from the city council effective immediately.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Mendoza, seconded by Councilwoman Zaberski. Please vote. Motion passes 3-2. So at this time,
Aaron Morton, city attorney, at this time, could we take a brief recess for the expulsion to occur?
okay, we take a brief recess.
Boulevard to the east. The project site totals approximately 24.72 acres and is currently split zoned rural residential with minimum lot sizes of 1/2 acre and 5 acres. Looking at the surrounding zoning pattern, we have SF6 to the north, RR5 to the south, RR5 and SF20 to the east, and RR1 and RR5 to the west. So this reflects a mix of residential lot sizes in the surrounding area. This slide shows the broader context of the proposed layout. The site is active or largely vacant and gently sloped. It qualifies as infill and is surrounded by existing development and already served by infrastructure. Under current zoning, development potential is limited to large lot rural residential. Under the proposed SF6 zoning district, minimum lot size would be 6,000 square feet, consistent with other residential neighborhoods in Fernley. It is important to note while the SF6 zoning district would allow up to approximately 175 units at a theoretical maximum, the applicant is only proposing 105 lots, which is well below the maximum. Looking more specifically at the dimensional standards, under RR5 and RR1/2, minimum lot sizes range from a half acre to 5 acres. Lot widths range from 120 to 200 feet, and setbacks are generally 30 feet from the front, 10 for the side, and 20 for the rear. Under SF6, minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet, minimum lot width is 60, front setbacks are reduced to 15 feet, and side setbacks are 5 feet, 20 feet when combined, and maximum lot coverage increases to 50%. It is important to note that building height remains capped at 35 feet, the same as the rural district, so the vertical scale here does not change. On the screen, you can see the proposed layouts. I'll leave it up for a couple of seconds so you all can take a look. And then council members, during discussions between the applicant, council members, members of the public, and neighboring property owners, concerns were raised regarding the interface between the proposed subdivision and adjacent properties. In response to those discussions, the applicant has proposed installing an open view fence along portions of the subdivision boundary. The sample image shown on the right side of the slide illustrates the general style of the fence being considered. A zoning map amendment may be approved when 3 findings can be made. Those findings are consistency with the master plan, consistency with surrounding land uses, and proper public notice and hearing. So regarding master plan consistency, the underlying comprehensive master plan designation for this property is single family residential, SFR. The SF6 zoning district is one of the conforming zoning districts to that land use designation, as you can see from the table on the screen. So this request aligns zoning with adopted policy. It does not change the master plan. Additionally, this request supports comprehensive policies related to housing variety, efficient land use, infill development, and efficient infrastructure extension. Surrounding parcels are also mapped single-family residential SFR. Existing development includes a mix of larger lot and smaller lot subdivisions. The proposed use, which is a single-family residential use, is compatible around surrounding residential uses. Public notice has been provided in accordance with NRS and Fernley Municipal Code, including mailed notice and publication, and this public hearing satisfies those requirements. So council members, the first set of findings for the tentative subdivision map relate to environmental compliance, water availability, and access to utilities. The project has been designed to comply with applicable environmental and health regulations. On-site drainage facilities will be constructed as part of the development, and public water and sewer infrastructure will be extended to serve the site. Temporary erosion and sediment control measures will be required during construction, and solid waste services will be provided by a community vendor. With respect to water supply, a 1.12 acre feet per lot will be required to be dedicated prior to recordation of the final map, and city facilities have adequate capacity to serve the development. Utilities are also available to serve this site, with water available from Fort Sutter Boulevard to the north and sewer available from Westward Lane to the east, along with power and communication utilities located on one of the nearby properties. The next set of findings relates to the availability of public services, compliance with zoning regulations, and transportation impacts. Because this project is located within an established portion of the city, police, fire protection, transportation infrastructure, parks, and other public services are already ready to serve the surrounding area. Students generated by the project would attend Cottonwood Elementary, Silverland Middle School, and Fernley High School. The tentative subdivision has also been reviewed for consistency with the proposed SF6 zoning district standards, and no apparent correction items have been identified. The project conforms to the city's transportation master plan, and all streets will be designed and constructed to City of Fernley standards. Finally, the project's traffic analysis indicates that the development will not create adverse level of service impacts under future year plus project conditions. Improvements recommended and conditioned include an eastbound left turn lane, flashing crosswalk at Farm District Road, and full improvement along Clover Lane. The last set of findings relate to site characteristics, agency review, and infrastructure planning and overall code compliance. The site is gently sloped and is not located within the FEMA floodplain. On-site soils do not appear to pose a hazard to construction, and there are no significant elevation differences with adjacent properties. The project has also been reviewed by applicable city departments and agencies, and there are no outstanding comments from reviewing bodies. Any remaining items have been incorporated into the conditions of approval. The project will conform to the city's master sewer and water utility plans, with infrastructure improvements required through the permitting process. Finally, the subdivision is conditioned for compliance with all applicable provisions of the Fernley Municipal Code and other applicable regulations. Staff recommends approval, and the recommended motion is on the screen. Should you all wish to deny this request, the motion is on the screen as well. And that concludes my presentation. And with that, I will pass it over to the applicant.
Does council have any questions on this? This is a public hearing, so council can discuss, and then after it will go to public. Councilwoman Zoberski, and then Councilman Mendoza.
You know, my kids went to a step ahead, so I've driven Clover Lane a lot. But in that, I remember every time going down there that it was a private road that they had just given access to the preschool for. And so I guess I just was curious about clarification on is that a public road? Is it a private road that's now been bought out?
Thank you for your question, Councilwoman Zaberski. I think it may be best to hold questions. The applicant does have a detailed presentation, and it may address a lot of these concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, members of the council. Derek Kirkland with Wood Rogers. And I'll be brief on some of this stuff. So I just wanted to kind of point out that we held our first neighborhood meeting on this back almost a year ago, back in April. So we met with the neighbors prior to this project, and we met with them several times throughout the project. And then most recently, as a direction of the council's the previous meeting back in October, we circled back with the neighbors, and we did come up with an agreement to not pipe the ditch, mainly, and the ditch runs basically along the western boundary, which I'll get into in a minute. But we agreed to not pipe the ditch, but we are enhancing some of the fencing, which I'll get to in a minute. But a lot of public input in this. We've been to public hearing several times, so a lot of work with the neighbors, and I think probably more so than most projects that you've seen before you in the last few years. Again, Fernley's growing. Why are we proposing this project? I think we're proposing it to basically support a lot of the growth that's coming, trying to create a range of lot sizes in an area that's going to be accessing the large kind of employment center to the north with direct access to 50, which is why we've kind of made that enhancement, working with the city, going through the city parcel to kind of make that connection. As we know, it's super important with traffic flow and just kind of balancing that out. And to your point, so Clover Lane is basically an easement. And so part of this project will be to make that a full public right of way, which will be dedicated to the city. And I'll get into a little bit more detail on that here in a few minutes. But between Farm District Road and US 50, pretty common for SF6 lots. Basically, this is an extension of all the SF6 lots to the north. So, and as you can see with the map, there's a lot of other cases that are very similar. So this isn't something that is never been proposed. This is in fact something similar to what we see quite a bit in this area, especially over the last few years with all the growth. Kind of touched on all this. We are requesting the zoning map amendment to SF6, mainly to build a 102 unit subdivision. It's 105 lots because we have 3 common open space lots, but those won't be units. They'll be common open space. Talked a little bit about this on the tentative map. We are at about 4 units per acre, very common in this area, as I mentioned, conforms to the underlying master plan. And as staff had mentioned, we're staying well below what even SF6 would allow in this area, trying to really focus on a mix of lot sizes. This map here shows basically all the SF6 lots to the north. And as you can see, there's a whole lot more lots to the north that are much more dense than what we're proposing. We've actually proposed only 39% of our lots, about 40 lots, are actually between 6,000 and 7,000. All the rest of them are between 7,000 and 12,000 square feet. So definitely trying to create some larger lots, especially along the perimeter, as well as buffering and try to keep those smaller lots kind of buffered into the interior. As part of this, to meet the residential adjacency standards in code, we've basically created 30-foot buffers. And what's unique about that too is in the lot sizes next to us, they could actually have their house within 30 feet of that property line. So we're actually we're adding a 30-foot buffer and then the backyard. So we're actually giving more of a buffer than what the current lots around the perimeter could build a house or a structure right up against that property line. And so we have, as you can see, along the west, the south, and then the east there, where we have backyards, we're providing that 30-foot buffer. And then along the side yards, where it's basically the side of the house, we've increased that to a 20-foot buffer. We did meet with the neighbor where we're going to come through the city parcel to extend the road to the north. We met with that neighbor and we've actually extended that buffer, and we're adding an additional 12 to 14-foot buffer there with the extension of Fort Sutter and Clover Lane. In this image, it gives you a good idea. So this is basically the western property line. So this is if we're standing on the west property line, looking north towards the existing SF6 developments. You can see the original proposal was more of like a cattle type fence. We've increased that after meeting with the neighbors and having a lot of discussion with them to what we're calling basically a 6-foot iron open view. We still want everyone to be able to see into that back area. That coincides with the 35-foot NV Energy easement. And so we'll be putting in that more secure 6-foot fence. Then on the back, basically where the main backyard starts are the eastern edge of that NV Energy easement. We're also going to have a 6-foot solid fence. And based on some input from the neighbors, we know that the irrigation ditch that runs along the west property line, it can overtop on occasion. And so the open view fence next to that will make sure that if water does overtop, it can get through the fence without destroying the fence. And then also we've left that area depressed And you can see the houses sit up a little bit higher because if that ditch does overtop, we're leaving that open area as it is now, so that water can collect there without impacting the proposed houses. And so that was actually input that was provided to us by the neighbors as well. And then looking on the east, so the picture in the above is a picture, if you're standing sort of like in the middle of the site, looking directly east, there's already a berm there. So we're proposing to keep that berm and actually put a 6-foot solid fence on top of that. And then the 30-foot buffer would be inside there. And then there's the backyard in addition to that. So on both the west and east sides, our backyards are going to be 60 feet deep, pushing those houses a lot further away to create a really nice buffer for those houses and maintaining a lot of the suggestions by the neighbors there as well. In terms of traffic, so we are planning to extend Clover Lane down through the site and basically extend through the city-owned property to connect to Sutter. That will allow traffic to basically kind of head to US 50, which is based on the traffic study is where most of the people are going to want to go, which will relieve a lot of the traffic on Farm District Road. We still are providing a lot of traffic calming through design. Basically, the way we've kind of laid this out is that it's rather than just having a direct shot, we've kind of moved the road around a little bit. And then we're also providing some traffic calming around the daycare because there's a lot of discussion about that. So we've created some buffers around them and created some stop conditions and added some curves to the street there to like really try to slow people down. And we'll continue to work with them through the design process as well. So we talked about the traffic calming. So this is a close-up of the daycare is, as you can see, stepping stones there. So we've created that additional buffer on basically on the east side of Fort Sutter. So I'll create a little bit of an addition and we'll be improving some of their access points. And then we've added that curve into the street so that it really starts to slow people down. We've added 3-way stop signs on both the intersections on both sides of the daycare to really slow people down through there. And then this is Clover Lane. So Clover Lane coming into the site from Farm District Road, there are currently RR5 designations on both sides still. And this is typically a rural roadway has drainage ditches on both sides. Currently, there's no pedestrian connectivity. And so we're planning to improve this. Our proposal is to basically pave Clover Lane, keep it a rural section because the zoning next to it is still a rural section. It would match those properties and keep their ditches. We really don't want to mess up their drainage ways. And we'd also add pedestrian connectivity in there as well. And so condition 31, actually required us to install curb and gutter and turn that into like a typical urban street section like we're going to have going north and through our subdivision. We're actually proposing to modify condition 31 so that we're going to still pave the same street section. So we'll improve it to a paved roadway. We'll still provide the 5-foot pedestrian pathway, but keeping those roadside ditches and keeping it more rural to kind of match the existing homes that are along there. And if for some reason they ever sell and come in, the developers who develop that would then improve the street at that time. But at this time, in our opinion, it doesn't make sense to change that street section and impact those people in any way. But we would still be improving that road, still adding pedestrian connections, still accomplishing all the same things that condition 31 is requiring us to do, with the exception of not adding curb and gutter and just keeping the roadside ditches.
Can I ask a question real fast?
We're going to have council comments here.
If I don't ask now, I'll forget.
Okay, ask.
It's just for that section.
Just,
the rest
yep.
is curb gutter sidewalk. It's just for that beginning first, what is it, 3 houses? 2
Yeah, and
houses?
you could see up above the yellow line is basically the section that we're proposing, and we've provided a proposed language there. But yeah, it's just that section next to the existing lots, larger lots that remain today, so that they still see kind of that same rural street section. Then once you hit the proposed lots, it would be all same curb gutter sidewalk, all that good stuff. And we'll be connecting to the same curb gutter sidewalk to the north with Fort Sutter.
Thank you.
So we do have some proposed language for the condition 31 amendment that we're proposing. And then the other one on condition 7, we 100% agree with condition 7. On the second sentence that was added, we just wanted to clarify where that 6-foot iron fence is going to go along the irrigation ditch, which is basically just clarifying for the agreement we have with the neighbors. And it's basically just adding some language that it's a 6-foot open view, no climb iron fence along the western boundary adjacent to the proposed lots, which is basically adjacent to that irrigation ditch. So to wrap up my presentation, so we are requesting a zoning map amendment to SF6 consistent with the north and conforms to the master plan. This is a tentative map also for 102 lot subdivision, or 105 if you include the 3 common area parcels. Staff recommendation of approval, and they were able to meet all the findings, which we agreed with the additional conditions, and then with our proposed changes on 31 and 7. And we've met with the neighbors several times. We've really tried hard to, we understand that change is not always easy for everyone. And we've really tried hard to spend a lot of time with the neighbors throughout this process. I mean, almost a year into this, which is almost 3 times as long as it normally would take, to make sure that we were trying to be good neighbors and trying to make this a really good project. And so with that, I will be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Does council have any? Councilman Mendoza, then Councilwoman Zaberski.
Yeah, I got 3 to be exact, or no, 2. Do you have a drainage plan you could show us so that if the watering ditch does overflow, what is the plan for that? I understand that we have an open gate to accept the water flow, but what's the flow path? And is there mitigations to not have landscaping damaged on a heavy rain day during watering, if it happens?
Yes, thank you, Councilman Mendoza. I would be happy to answer that question if I can, Mr. Mayor. Would it be possible to get the presentation back up? So we do, obviously, city code requires us to have a whole drainage plan, which is part of this tentative map, is included in the plans. And part of that is we have, and I'll show you on this map to start. So along that western boundary in the middle of the site there, we have a retention basin. So that'll be kind of the first retention basin where if water comes in, it's basically collected from the roadways, goes into the retention basin, and that's sized per city code. And then we also are going to be, where we're connecting into Fort Sutter, we're also going to be enlarging that basin to kind of improve what's already there, plus accommodate flows from this area. And then what we've agreed to do based on the neighbors' input, let me back up here, is along the western boundary, get to there, right there. So you can see where there's the irrigation ditch on the west. Then we have the property line where they have basically the picture below is basically the barbed wire fence. And then there's a little bit of a berm. And then you can see right now where it's fairly green through that area where every once in a while they do get some water in there. So we've actually raised those pads, the house pads up a couple of feet. So now they're basically up above. Similar to, honestly, if you go out there and you look at how Donner Trails is now, it's very similar. We basically just modeled what they did. And that area would remain depressed, and we're going to leave that as basically natural vegetation, which is basically just vegetation that's growing in there from some of the overflow of the ditch. So that way it basically acts as a backup retention basin. So if water does come out of the ditch or one of the basins overflows, it's an area that could fill up with water without impacting any of the houses on either side. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, it does. Thank you. The initial retention ditch that you showed us, was that sized just to absorb the surface streets that are being installed, or was that padded a little bit for the potential overflow of the watering ditch?
So we are required to design that per city code. So basically the retention basins themselves are sized to handle the surfaces from the subdivision that we're proposing. Basically all the improvements, all the grading we do within the site we have to basically be able to retain a certain amount. We do have our engineer here too, I could bring up to talk a little bit more in detail if you want on that. But the overflow of the ditch is not something extra that we are including in those retention basins because the area, the 30 feet along the western boundary would serve as that additional retention.
And has there been calculations for the potential overflow of it being able to hold that capacity, or?
I'm going to defer to our engineer on that to see if he can help you. We have Todd Gamble, who was one of the engineers on the project.
Perfect. While they're coming up, how many people do you guys expect to have in each home?
I mean, I guess that's a little bit hard question to answer, but I most of the time, I think city of Fernley, and I'm just off the top of my head, I think is about 2.5 to 2.7 people per household.
Okay.
And we would anticipate that's probably going to be pretty close.
Cool, thank you.
Todd Gamble, Wood Rogers for the record. I think Derek did a pretty good job of explaining it. The 2 retention bonds would be to retain the increase in flow from the subdivision per code. And then that depressed area, to answer your question specifically, we have not done specific calculations for what that might be, because we can do that with final design. But that idea of what Derek's showing is I think an excellent way to do that, especially since it's like 30 feet wide.
Yeah, I'm not a water guy, but I know water's got to go somewhere. And if
Yeah.
I know there's things you could do to calculate.
Yeah.
To see, hey, if we do have an issue, we could shut a gate down. But if that thing were to bust or overflow and nobody's taking care of it, if we haven't accounted for
Well,
the perfect storm.
Yeah, it's 'cause it's 2 different things, right? It's irrigation. Are you asking me if that thing's full and we get a storm?
Yeah.
Yeah. Certainly something we can look at.
Yeah, it's just a concern of mine.
Yeah.
So, and I just wanted to ask, it sounds like you guys need to do some calculations or come up with an answer for that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
And just to follow up too, we are required as the next step during final design, we will have to provide all those calculations as city engineer. So even if you wanted us to add a condition about making sure we calculate that, and we're happy to do that, but we're going to have to do that anyways, once we have final design, and they're going to look at all of the flooding calculations, our modeling that we do. So all that is going to be factored into final design that the city engineer reviews.
Okay, cool. My last thing, it's not a question or anything, it's more of a comment, but on analysis, item number 4, it talks about fire protection is present, and I just want to make it publicly known that there is fire protection present in that area, but it's insufficient. So that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Zaberski.
Hi,
Let's go.
I'm sorry I didn't call you back. I was driving. I'm really grateful for how much you guys have I feel like you're kind of a familiar face in Fernley now. Like people know Derek from Wood Rogers, which way to go. What a monopoly. I only had a couple of issues, and mainly with, I feel like I'm always like the traffic girl that's like, traffic. But like on the sheet, one, I should take a class on how to read the graph, the traffic analysis graph, because it's painful. But you have Farm District as like the 4th option for a road. And I know that you guys are not from here, but in the event that it's peak hours, people are absolutely not going to use the roundabout. To get to the entrance on 50, they're going to go through the neighborhoods and use Farm District to take Clover down to the development. And that's just, I live here. And honestly, the residents here are going to avoid the roundabout like the plague if it's any time between 3:30 and 6. And so I just don't know if I would hope that that's taken into consideration, just because you kind of get to see the flow of traffic in the city. But if you don't live here, then you don't know kind of those shortcuts that people take. But Farm District will be a major entrance for that, for people that are coming through town, because people are not going to wait at the roundabout to get onto 50 to pull into that neighborhood. They'll take Cottonwood to Farm District to Clover, and then use that entrance. I'm not sure what our level of service is on Farm District right now, and I'm really happy about the pedestrian walkway, but I think that was probably my biggest issue. That, and then I know I'm gonna fight these 6,000 square foot homes for the rest of the time that I'm up here. But it is a good spot. It's right next to a school. I hope as far as staff goes, when we are looking at findings for the project and it says consistent with surrounding land uses, I know that it's consistent with just one. And our master plan says 6,000 square feet, but it's surrounded by rural residential. The tiniest portion that it is consistent with is the north side, and that's it, right? Unless it goes across Farm District. And so I hope that in our future staff reports, I think that we should definitely have that. It's just that tiny space. I'm rambling. The traffic is my main concern. The open space that you're talking about, are we using retention ponds as open space? I'm assuming that counts as an open space for the city?
Derek Kirkland, Wood Rogers. So yes, basically the retention basins become common. I mean, they're common open space. And we basically, once we create them, we create those common spaces, which are actually, is the preference of the city that we basically turn them over to the city so that the city can own them, to make sure. I think there were some problems in the past of people not maintaining them and issues. And so now I think the city maintains them and owns them.
Okay. I guess maybe a city question then. If we are going to label retention ponds as open space, then they have to be usable as open space as well, right? Because right now, most of our retention ponds for safety reasons are fenced. And so I don't know if I would consider that open space.
I'm going to defer that one to Barry since he's the one that takes care of all those.
Barry Williams, Public Works Director, for the record. It could be considered open space. It really depends on how the retention pond is designed. There are designs for retention areas that could double as like a park or another amenity for the public. But it really just depends on how it's actually designed to be considered that.
Thank you, Barry. Going forward, I would really like if we can make those retention basins more of like a grass or an open space and not just rocked and then fenced, so that we can actually utilize them. We have a great retention pond at the out of town park that we double as a dog park, and it's awesome. We have a couple, but I feel like the more of the recent ones that we've been rocking and then chain link fencing, and then it's not open space. So going forward with the design, if we can make that usable. I'm sorry I have so many questions.
That's good.
The space in between the iron fence and the good neighbor fence, which I really hope that is actually like a planning definition. Good neighbor fence. Is that real, or did you make that?
I mean, yeah, the good neighbor fence. I mean,
Okay, well, I like it. The space in between the iron fence and the good neighbor fence, are we just like letting that go completely? Is that the property owner's responsibility? Whose responsibility does that become?
so it's actually an NV Energy easement because the main power line runs through there. And so the way we've laid it out currently is that that area will be incorporated into those lots. And so when they get their deed, they'll have that shown as their lot. And it's their responsibility to basically maintain it and maintain access for NV Energy and anything that goes on. But it will be that area will be the responsibility of the homeowner. But there'll be deed restrictions on, obviously NV Energy has an easement. You can't build anything back there. And that's why we put that good neighbor fence kind of up on top, and just so they know there's a clear divide.
Okay, perfect. Just as long as they know when they get that their property goes beyond the fence and that's their responsibility as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Would you like us to answer your traffic questions? I have Lauren Chilson, who was our traffic engineer.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be good if you could answer those.
Good evening, Lauren Chilson with GCW. I think I'll speak, Councilwoman, to your question about the dispersion of traffic and understanding of the roundabout. Absolutely, we recognize the roundabout, its issues. We've performed many traffic studies in the city of Fernley, and I'm out here often. And so what we did was, in the traffic study, we recognize that people are going to go different ways during peak hours, trying to avoid the roundabout, candidly. We wanted to assess the worst case in the local neighborhood. And so we assigned, for the purposes of our analysis, most of that traffic to the north towards US 50, so that we made sure we captured any potential impacts in the neighborhood. We didn't find anything significant. If that traffic were routed to Farm District, Cottonwood, around the back, around the west side, also those intersections are functioning at levels that it would be okay. And so they're within level service policy. We didn't find any impacts significantly that direction either, barring the roundabout, which we all know, right? So we wanted to look at worst case, make sure we addressed any impacts in the neighborhoods to north. We did that, the calming and so on. So we're confident that we're not creating any significant impacts.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no other comment from council, I will now open it up for public comment.
Hi, Becky Howlett for the record. The traffic thing is ridiculous. Anybody with a child that lives in that neighborhood is not going to go to 50. All the schools are the other way. They're going to go down Farm District. I live off Farm District now, and I can barely get off my street 9/10 of the time. It drives me crazy. I go to leave and there's a line of cars going past. They are headed toward the lovely roundabout so we can all sit in traffic together. The buffer zone on the east, I understand that's an easement. The buffer zone on the west is not an easement, but it's a buffer zone. So you're paying taxes on 30 feet of the backside of your lot that you can't use. You can't build a shed, you can't plant a tree, you can't do anything, but you have to maintain it and pay taxes on it. So I think that's a little ridiculous. I also don't understand that this is a rural residential area. 9/10 of it is larger parcels. To the north, there is the 6,000 square foot lots, but the rest of the surrounding area is all larger parcels. So why are we ignoring the adjacency standard and completely changing things to make these little postage stamp lots where you're going to have more traffic? And right now the traffic might be not meet the standard, might not be as bad, but you've got all those other subdivisions going in there, all with the little 6,000 square foot lots and 2.57 people living in them. And if both of them work, there's 2 more cars for each house that are going to go up and down Farm District. I don't think they're going to go toward 50 at all. But thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anybody on Zoom, Ms. Swanson? All right, we have more public comment.
Can I get a map of the subdivision up there, please? My name's Stephen Griswold, and I have a good majority of the property on the east side of this. And I've got a major concern with it, and they haven't addressed it yet. Basically, my concern is we're irrigation. Okay, it comes in, it drops into a 6-foot square box, 6 foot deep, 6 foot wide, 6 foot across, got 3 or 4 outlets. It doesn't take much for it to come down and plug up. A skunk every spring, it seems like, winds up in one of the pipe and plugs it up. So we got a flooding problem and they haven't addressed it to my satisfaction. And if it overflows, where's the water going to go? It's going to go in those houses. Another thing along that, can I walk over there? Do you mind? So I can kind of point out what I'm talking about. This place that I'm talking about, this foot where the irrigation is right here, right in that corner. Okay, that's where our water comes in. There's a water line that goes down, all the way down one side, and then it goes over on the other dike and goes down my side. You're bringing those families into that. They got a bunch of little kids, etc. There's that old pipe. We have gates. It goes into a pipe. We pop a top off the pipe and it irrigates our field. And it's all the way down the side. What's going to stop one of those little kids from going over there and popping a gate behind those houses and think it's funny? Or may not even think it's funny, just take the gate and go play with it. And then we come in and Zubiletti decides to water, and we've got water going into somebody's house behind it. Then when it's dry, anybody that's had kids, knowing 2-year-old to 8-year-old will find a box like that. What a great fort. And once they get to playing, they don't know the water's coming. Okay, so we've got a real safety concern with little ones being moved into that area with that type of situation. I'm sorry, I get a little loud. God, I gotta get my glasses out. Maintenance between the subdivisions. Yes, we've got a hill there right now. Basically the easement is on top of that hill. But I'll tell you what, right now, if they move it back 35 feet, I don't think they could get a truck in there, the power company, if they wanted to, because where they were driving, all that is eroded away, about half of it. So you can't drive all the way down it anyway. And they haven't for years. So who's going to take care of the fire hazard? Because right now, nobody's watering back there. When they were watering back there and everything was green and they were farming, we didn't have a fire hazard.
Sir, your time is up. I'm sorry. There you go. Do the handoff. I love it.
I'm sorry, it's going to be hard. I'm hoarse. Okay, so when we moved here, we got this property because it was 5 acres, and we were told this is going to be a green area. You don't have to worry about houses ever being here. We were showed a beautiful map. This is where our property was, and it was going to be green. So shortly after that, everything changed. The green area got gotten rid of, and they started moving houses in. Well, at least on the one side, we have half-acre houses. But behind us, we're going to have a whole lot more. Right now, our road is supposedly a irrigation easement, but it's used by everybody because there's not enough area around for them to drive. So they drive like a bat out of where, down that. And it's only going to get worse if we have all the postage stamps behind us. The irrigation box that we have where the water goes in, sometimes there's frogs in there and there's tadpoles. What kid isn't going to want to try and get down there and catch some frogs and play with the tadpoles, then not be able to get out? What happens if they fall into that and break a leg, break an arm, and then, like my husband said, they run the water in? Excuse me? So we were just, we're just concerned. There's, not only do we not want to have so many houses around us because that's not how this place was built. We've been here over 20 years and it wasn't supposed to become like this. Yes, we have to grow, but why do we have to have all the postage stamps? I may not like that they have the half-acre houses that they're building on the other side of us, but at least they're a little bigger. They're not quite so, crammed in there. But even with that extra traffic there on USA Parkway, it has, tremendously impacted what we have and what's going down towards Farm District. So, it's just not what we were supposed to be having. We're not becoming the rural area. We're not, it's just not nice.
Thank you, ma'am.
Aaron. Shut them up.
Do we have any other public comment?
Is this on? Okay. Michelle Barney, for the record. I am a local realtor. I think everybody in this whole city and around would love to have parcels half acre or more. I know I have a lot of buyers that would love it, but the prices just are not affordable. We need houses with smaller lots that are affordable. The half acre lots are going for 600 to 700,000, and anything above that is over 700 to 800,000. Again, I think all buyers would love to have those bigger lots, but it's not feasible. I live off of a Jasmine Lane. I take 50 every day on purpose. I'd no longer take Farm District. So I think encouraging people to take 50 is a better route. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Bill Swagger. I'm a resident on the west side of off Winnie's Lane. And for some of the calculations for the gentleman in the back, last year when we're flood irrigating, we're taking 5 acre feet at the beginning, cutting down to 2.5 acre feet. Last year we had a blowout that went towards the east side of our ditch. So where your back of your people are here in your little retention pond, it flooded out for a period of time at 5 acre feet until you can get the ditch rider and everything to shut down that valve, the main valve. And it's going to take and empty what is in the ditch. So something that was brought up many years ago is how would we get there if we had to do any repairs? Right now, seems like everything's going to be gated off, fenced off. Nevada Power could access. We still need to have, if that is, even with the property that the nice picture showed, that it looks like the ditch berm is at this height that it is with the new wooden fence on it, we wouldn't be able to get to it to repair that ditch. So it's something that should be considered with that type of a flow coming of water. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other public comment, I will turn it back over to council for discussion. If no discussion, I'll entertain a motion. Councilwoman Zaberski.
Sorry, Derek. Sorry. Can you just tell me some of the communication that happened with the neighbors that were worried about the kids getting into the irrigation ditch and how you decided to mitigate that with the buffer and the iron fence?
Yes, so we had on some of the meetings and we tried to reach out to everyone and met with most of them. And basically what it was is when obviously the ditch is dry most of the time until they order water. So the way that ditch is basically there's no private easement for it. So it's just a ditch that everyone kind of has a sort of a partner agreement on. And then when they order water from TCID, basically TCID sends water down that ditch to irrigate the private property, and then it goes down and then it actually heads back west. And so the concerns we heard were obviously people get, obviously there's no, it was the ditch and they have farm animals back there. And so it was like just trying to keep people out of their property. The ditch is clearly on their property. It's not like it's a shared ditch on both sides of the property line. It's solely on the properties on the west. And so basically their concern was, as we're adding new houses there, we're going to attract people to want to go into that area. And so that's why they originally came up with piping the ditch, but the legal issues with trying to pipe the ditch, because the ditch is not even in an easement. So we couldn't even go pipe the ditch now if we wanted to, because it crosses so many properties. There's no easement today. And so we kind of worked with the neighbors on their concerns in terms of mostly if the ditch overtops, because obviously they send water down there and occasionally, sometimes the ditch will have issues or the ditch will overtop every once in a while. But it's something that happens very rarely. And so that's why we came up with the open view fence to basically, allow the neighbors along the west to see into that area so they can monitor what's going on. To the open view fence that would allow us to allow the water, if it does overtop, it's not going to take out a solid wood fence. It's going to go through. And then we left that area depressed, and that was RC Herrera basically said, hey, look, this is what happens. I think if you just match what happened or how Donner Trails deals with it and just kind of leave this area alone within the NV Energy easement, we'll be fine and elevate these houses. So if the water does get in there, it'll basically act as a backup retention basin. And then everyone kind of agreed. It's like, all right, well, obviously piping the ditch isn't going to be feasible. So having that 6-foot security fence, allowing the water to come through, keeping that area kind of depressed, would work out okay. And then on the east side, we did go out, we've walked it probably 3 or 4 times with the neighbors. We understand their concerns about the box. And it's a final design issue. Honestly, we're going to have to deal with it and we're going to have to address it. It's probably some of the concepts we came up with when we were out there was potentially relocating that box so it's more clearly on their property with some new irrigation pipe. We've talked about putting in, some additional fencing around there. I think we would be open if it makes them feel more comfortable. If there's a condition that's related to, we'll continue to work with the irrigation around the property and work with the city engineer to make sure that it's addressed with final design. We're totally fine with that because we're going to have to do it anyways. But we have walked all the properties. We've heard all the irrigation concerns. We've taken tons of pictures of it. Our engineers have looked at it a million times. And it's just really something that it's not going to impact the tentative map. Tentative map is still pretty high level. And we haven't gone out there and taken actual survey shots because they're not going to invest money in moving to the next phase of design unless the project's approved. So once the project's approved, we send our surveyors back out there. We're going to take shots of all that stuff and we have to address it. It's by law. We're required to address all those things, the irrigation, the drainage. But if there's a condition that's crafted so it's open that, we'll ensure that we work with the city on addressing the irrigation concerns. And we're happy to do that mainly on we've already addressed them on the west, but the east side, we'd be happy to do that.
And the west side is the only one that has NV Energy easement and not the west side.
The west side does not. We do have a 35-foot. I mean, it's a 35-foot easement on the west, and we are adding that another 30-foot buffer over there, and we do have to deal with utilities. So if we need to provide more access back there and pull those fences in, it's a final design. We have to submit all of our plans to NV Energy, and NV Energy, if they look at it and say we need access through there, we have to provide it.
Right. And you're here for zoning, right?
Yeah, zoning and tentative map. So
okay. I would just ask planning that we do make that a condition that we communicate with the neighbors irrigation engineering.
If you could, whoever makes the motion, if they include that as part of their motion, just so it's on the record.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no other comment, I'll entertain a motion. Councilwoman Zaborski and then Councilman Torres.
You can read it if you want.
Go ahead.
It's pretty long. Okay. Considering the information contained in the applicant's submittal package and based on the analysis presented in the staff report, I move to approve and adopt Bill 380 and ZMA 25001, rezoning the subject parcels from RR1 and RR5 to SF6, and approve TSM 25001, subdividing 24.72 acres into 105 single-family residential lots, with the added condition that the developer communicate with the city engineer, the neighbors on irrigation, and NB Energy to make sure it's cohesive.
Second that.
Mr. Mayor, can I jump in real quick?
Yes.
Michelle Rambo, Planning Director. There were those two requests that they had for changes to conditions. If you could also include how you would like to handle those.
If staff is happy with the conditions that they presented, then I'm happy to add those to my motion as well.
Okay, and
I second that change.
okay, if you're happy, I'm happy.
Thank you.
Councilman Hannon, did you have a comment? Okay. We have a motion by Councilwoman Zaberski, seconded by Councilman Torres. Please vote. Motion carries 3-1. We'll now move on to line item 9, items requested by the mayor or city council members. 9.1, discussion possible action. The city council previously approved moving forward with a comprehensive efficiency study to evaluate current operations, organizational structure, service delivery, and resource utilization. This direction was provided several months ago with the intent of advancing transparency, accountability, and operational effectiveness. Since that approval, limited formal updates have been provided to the council regarding progress development for the request for proposals or anticipated timelines. As a result, this item is being brought forward. Formally reestablished priorities, ensure accountability, and move the project forward in a timely and transparent manner. Councilman Mendoza, this was your line item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief, very quick. I'm tired, hungry, and ready to go. But I just want to bring up, I don't know any other way to address this after asking question after question after question for over 11 months in regards to this efficiency study. But here's a quick timeline. March 19th, 2025, a request was formally to place an agenda item to initiate an efficiency study. April 16th, 2025, the request appeared on the agenda under future item request when we were voting on them. It was voted on to be placed on the agenda. It was not placed on the agenda until October 1 of 2025. Several months without placement on a regular agenda until it was finally brought forward for consideration. It did pass on October 1st. And then following that October approval, no meaningful updates, tangible progress was provided to council or implementation of the study. February 4th, 2026, due to the lack of progress and communication from staff, I was placed on the agenda again. February 13th, 2026, I was finally updated. And so my concern is it's almost been a year to try to fix an issue. And I really believe that's unacceptable. And I'm reaching out to you, who is the commander-in-chief of this city, to figure out what are we going to do as a council? What are you going to do as a mayor to hold staff accountable to appropriately carry out the request of this council in a timely manner? I know people are busy. Everybody's busy. But to take 11 months to still be, it's going to take over a year for us to figure this out, to even get an RFP out. And in my opinion, it's completely unacceptable and it's bad business. So what do we do to hold people accountable to make sure that the request of council are carried out appropriately in a timely manner.
Basically, that falls underneath myself and the city manager. And at the time, we've been without a city manager for quite a few months. Acting city manager Lydia Altek, I do believe, is still working on that. Is that correct, Ms. Altek?
Good evening, Acting City Manager Lydia Altic. Yes, a lot of time during that, from April when you requested it be put on, that an RFP put out. We were without a city manager right after that, I believe, following that. And it was our thought that we would get a new city manager and we'd have more help. And that didn't happen. So just to give you an update today, about a month ago, I sent out an email to all council stating that stating a timeline of when the RFP would be put out. I think it was actually a month and a half ago, and that it would be put out by the end of February. So last Friday, we sent the RFP to council. I wanted to get their eyes on it before we actually sent it out. So we did that and we didn't receive any comments. So that RFP went out, I believe, yesterday. It is out right now. I've already
Okay.
received my first question, actually.
Thank you. And yes, you're right. Councilman Mendoza, that these actions requested by council should not take this long. But like I said, being without a city manager since, what was it, April, I believe? April, it's been difficult. Or June, right?
Who knows?
June, yeah. So hopefully within the next few months, we'll be able to rectify what's going to happen, and where these requests from council come before our city employees, they will be acted upon sooner.
I appreciate that. I don't know what else do we do after instructing people to do something. So, and I'm glad you pointed out that that falls on you. So I'll just be talking to you.
Yep.
That's all I got for this. No action.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll now move on to line item 10, public forum. This is a portion of the meeting devoted to the public. You wish to comment, you can do so in the meeting, please, or raise your hand, featured Zoom, star 9 if you're participating via phone. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please avoid repetition. Is there any public input? If you are speaking at the podium, please print your name on the sheet provided. Is there any public input at this time? Is there anyone on Zoom? No. Okay. Councilman Hannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On that same note, the last item, I would like to know an update on the fee schedule we had discussion about the water fee schedule and also the connection fees for water and sewer. And my understanding was that was supposed to be brought back in the middle of last year and then the end of last year. And then Councilman Torres and I had a discussion that it was going to be brought back in the beginning of this year. And I still haven't seen that on the agenda. And so since the folks are unhappy with the price of water, I think it's important that we put that back on the public agenda. And the second item, I'll just skip to the next one, was the roundabout. My understanding was we were going to have some roundabout ideas to choose from, and that was going to be in February. Is that going to be in March or April? When for the roundabout beautification? When will we have those?
Barry Williams, Public Works Director, for the record. We did have our kickoff meeting with the firm that was selected to give us those renditions. The timeline has not been established yet when the renditions will actually be coming to us for review, but I will follow up and give you an update.
Okay, I read that we were going to have them in February, and then there was going to be, it would be completed by June or July. That was the timeline that was on the, I believe, our website or Facebook, city Facebook, one or the other.
I'd have to check in on the actual timeline, but I do anticipate having some information here very soon.
All right, thank you, sir.
We have public comment. Go ahead.
I did. I just wanted to clarify on Mr. Hannon's response to my comment on Facebook. Did you state that you did not put that on there?
Mr. Mayor, am I
Can I
allowed?
ask him that, or do I ask through you?
Well, is this something that can be discussed after this meeting?
Aaron Morton, City Attorney, it's generally my advice that council members don't respond to public comment during public comment.
So if you would, I'll get with Mr. Hannon and he can talk to you after the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
If there's no other public comment, our next meeting will be March 18th at 5 p.m. And just so everybody, excuse me, knows, Councilwoman Zoberski will be running the meeting because Councilman Torres and myself will be in Washington, D.C. advocating for the city of Fernley. So this meeting is adjourned. Yeah.